Hi everyone, good morning. Meteorologist Taylor Kanost here with meteorologist Brandon Lawrence. We have some active weather to talk about, so we thought we'd do a little live video here this morning on the active late March weather coming our way these next couple of days.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's going to start with storms tonight, and then it's going to transition over to snow tomorrow. So when you see the title alone of the video that says storms one night, snow the next, we're not making that up.
Yeah, that's literally what's expected to happen across Iowa these next couple of nights. So interesting stuff here. Let's look regionally at what's happening to start with. We have low pressure in southwest Nebraska, northwest Kansas right now. They're already near 70 degrees in Dodge City, Kansas late this morning, 60s in Wichita and Salina, Kansas as well. We are on the cold side of the system currently, so still in the 30s in Des Moines right now, but we're at least going to be a little bit warmer today than we were yesterday, Brandon, and it's because this warm front's going to be heading our way tonight.
Yeah, this warm front, kind of the reason we've got cloud cover. We are going to have a storm chance to begin with, but it seems, really as quickly as that warm front will move in, we'll have a couple of hours essentially overnight that are mild, and then there's another cold front coming in and will fall throughout the day. The big takeaway here will be the risk of storms tonight, thunderstorms, and there will be a chance, not a great chance, but there is an opportunity for severe weather.
Yeah, so here are the various severe weather risks low risk for large hail, damaging wind, and an even lower risk for flash flooding and tornadoes. Let's show you the Storm Prediction Center outlook maps that you might be familiar with that we show in our newscasts quite a bit. So we have a level 2 out of 5 risk for the areas in yellow. That includes Des Moines and much of central Iowa. On the outskirts of that, you have the green, which is the level 1 risk for severe storms as well. So primarily southwest into central Iowa, we have a chance at some severe weather later on this evening and overnight tonight. They break these down by the different types of severe weather. So they have specific maps for hail, for example, similar to what we showed you there. A low threat for some hail there, probably an even lower threat for damaging winds, and that's more likely in southwest into south central Iowa. And then the tornado threats. It's very low, as we mentioned, but it's not impossible, I guess, that we could see a tornado. The one thing that's working against us as far as the tornado threat, or I guess working for us because we don't want to see tornadoes, is that we have something called a capping inversion in place. So let's explain what that means for just a minute. A capping inversion is basically when you have a warm layer of air above the ground that suppresses storms from developing. So this right here is kind of a normal temperature profile in the atmosphere. The farther up in the sky you go, the colder the temperature gets, and that allows these storms to rise without anything inhibiting it from rising. But when you have a cap in place, Brandon, that's when things are a little different.
Yeah, the cap sort of acts like a lid on the atmosphere, and it suppresses that storm development because, again, it's that warmer layer above, essentially temperatures rising with height, which we don't typically see. We normally would see them going down as we go farther up into the atmosphere. So it forces the storms to form on top of the capping inversion, which still means we have storms, but in a lot of cases it brings our severe weather risk down a little bit.
Yeah, so when storms develop on top of this cap, those are called elevated storms. When you have storms that develop here closer to the surface, we call those surface-based storms, and it's the surface-based storms that are more concerning and have the better chance of producing tornadoes. The chances of us seeing surface-based storms today is pretty low because of that cap. What we're going to show you here on our Futurecast is both the radar potential later on today, and this blue contour here, that is where the cap will be in place. So typically in a severe weather situation, if we did not have a cap, this would be the area we'd be watching for potential severe weather and potential tornadoes. But all this blue here signifies there's going to be a strong cap in place. On the cold side of this warm front, there's always just going to be elevated storms on that side. It's just too cold. So bottom line is we'll have a cap in place. There still could be storms, but the tornado threat is pretty low because of that cap. Now, when you have elevated storms, you still can get severe weather, though.
Right. Yeah. Hail is typically the primary threat with elevated storms. We can still get damaging winds. It's just higher up in the atmosphere. And if you get strong enough wind, it can pull that down to the surface. But, you know, today is not a traditional severe weather setup. I think it would be if we didn't have that capping inversion in place, because we often will look to the center of the low pressure and the location of the warm front to give us a good idea of where storms will form. But going through Futurecast, we'll watch some of these storms develop in southwest Iowa later on tonight. So this is about 10 p.m. tonight, and they pretty quickly develop there and move over into central Iowa around that time. But the key thing here is the only way we're really going to see a tornado develop in, say, far southwest Iowa is if these storms are able to break through that cap. And there's such a narrow window that they would be able to break through the cap. Even if they did it, it's not a long period of time that can happen for.
Yeah, it looks like maybe right as the storms begin is where there is that slim chance of a tornado in southwest Iowa. By the time we get to 10 p.m., that cap really starts to strengthen again. And, you know, bottom line is the tornado threat is just not high today because of that cap. If we did not have it, it'd be a much higher tornado threat today, but bottom line is it's probably not going to come to fruition, thankfully. But as we move through time, closer to midnight, we could see these storms kind of line out a little bit. There's where we, potentially could see some gusty winds as well, and that hail threat may continue. Probably after midnight, I think the severe threat's probably wrapped up.
Sure.
So 8 p.m. to midnight, is when we're watching out for primarily hail, maybe a couple of storms producing gusty winds.
Just because the radar might look like this doesn't necessarily mean that there will be severe weather. This could indicate heavy rainfall. It could indicate that there is some hail, but maybe not necessarily all the way up to severe criteria. You know, little tiny itty bitty hail that's like pea size, that's not considered severe hail. It still could be falling.
Yeah, exactly. So yesterday, the models were showing the storms tracking from west central to north central Iowa. What we just showed you there, obviously taking it a little bit farther south and east. You know, there could be a situation where it's kind of scattered all over the place. So even though you see little rain in Fort Dodge, that doesn't mean that's absolutely going to happen. We could get some downpours in various spots, but latest models this morning kind of pointing to southern and eastern Iowa, maybe as having a better chance at the heavier downpours later on tonight and tomorrow
I think, yeah, if you get underneath one of those thunderstorms, obviously your rain totals are going to be higher, and then if they sort of skirt around you, you just won't receive quite as much. I do want to stress too, you know, this is so important on days like today when we have a severe weather risk, but we also have that capping inversion. You know, just because there is a severe weather risk does not guarantee that severe weather is going to happen. It doesn't guarantee it at all, but it certainly doesn't guarantee it in your area. So, you know, hopefully this is a day where we put out the severe weather risk, we talk about it, and then nothing really happens severe weather wise, and then everybody just gets rain and thunder and lightning and we move on with our lives. That's how we would like for it to be, right? Because we don't want severe weather. So just don't be surprised if it is not bad in your area. We don't want it to be, but we know that threat's there.
There will, you know, most likely situation, you get a few hail reports today, later on tonight, and that's probably about it. So. That's the most likely scenario. Let's talk about what's going to happen Wednesday into Thursday. Lingering.
Let's not.
We have to. Lingering rain in southeast Iowa on Wednesday morning, maybe even Wednesday afternoon. But starting Wednesday afternoon in northwest Iowa, we get cold air to wrap around this low pressure system. And we could see wintry mix, rain-snow mix showers begin to move into northwest Iowa, and then it could spill into central Iowa on Wednesday evening into Wednesday night, lingering early Thursday morning. Most of it probably gone by sunrise on Thursday. But there is a chance, Brandon, we could have at least a little bit of accumulation of snow for the last day of March.
Possible. You know, the challenge we face here with the snow at this point in the season is you've got a really warm ground. You know, we have warm road temperatures, so getting accumulation is a little bit harder to do. Doesn't mean it won't happen. This is kind of our general first thinking is most areas in extreme central Iowa will be at less than an inch. If you go farther to the north, we start getting into that 1.5 inch range. You know, I don't think we're going to have any major travel impacts. There still could be slushy roads as this falls, though, especially, you know, when it happens overnight and it's colder.
Yeah, the timing of the snow being overnight does mean it's possible some of it could stick even to the roads a little bit. But northern to northeast Iowa, probably the area most likely to get maybe a few spots with that 2-inch range, maybe even isolated spots up to 3 is not out of the question. But most of us are going to get less than that. Most of it, the accumulation will just be on the grass, like we've seen the last couple of rounds of snow. So
I've already had a lot of questions of people saying, please tell me this is the last snow. And I'm like, well, you know.
How about that?
How many times have we seen snow in April in Iowa? Thursday, well, tomorrow is March 30th, by the way. So, you know, we know that the prospect for snow will continue to go down as the weeks go on, but I don't ever like to say it's the last one.
Yeah, the last measurable snow for Des Moines the last 4 years has been in April. So
and the latest it's ever happened, I'm pretty sure, was May 15th.
I want to say
it might be.
Yeah, I think you're right. In northwest Iowa, they had one in like late May.
May 27th or something like that. So
it can
not that
happen.
We're putting that omen on us. Not that we're out there saying like, oh, it's going to be one of those years. But we are definitely, you know, and I know we want to show another snow map, just kind of a zoomed in view.
Yeah.
We are kind of in a wetter pattern right now. This is one of the more, you know, active patterns we've seen in a while. We've sort of had these bigger events and then they go away for like a week to 2 weeks at a time. Now we're kind of in a pretty consistent pattern. We've got more wet weather this weekend, maybe some next week. So this is a closer view of the snow for tomorrow evening into Thursday early in the morning. I think the most likely areas of accumulation are going to be Highway 30 and north. But the farther south you go, the lower that chance for accumulation will be. Notice like Lamoni, Centerville, Ottumwa, when we put a T, that stands for a trace, which means there could be some flakes, but the risk of anything like really a big deal is pretty low.
Yeah, exactly. Last thing we'll talk about here is temperatures. We are currently in the 40s in western to southwest Iowa. Rest of us still pretty cold with 30s, but we are going to see highs today in the 50s for some of us. It's kind of split across the state thanks to this warm front moving in. So the southwest half of the state, you're going to warm up. By 6 p.m., you're going to be awfully close to 60 in Lamoni, and we'll probably see some 60s here, maybe around Red Oak and Clorinda, but cooler the farther north and east you go today. Fast forward to tonight, here comes that warm front, and temperatures keep rising overnight. You know, that happens a handful of times throughout the year, just based on the timing of these systems. You know, it's kind of unfortunate that this is moving through during the nighttime because we won't be able to enjoy this mild weather.
I will.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, I don't spend it outside, but you know.
You'll walk in to mild temperatures at least. So, you know, 3 a.m., 54 degrees in Des Moines. That's probably the high temperature or right around it on Wednesday. And then the cold front follows right behind that. And we're back down to the 30s and 40s around midday on Wednesday. And it's going to be windy as well. So wind chills by, you know, noon tomorrow in the 30s. And those will keep on falling. Could feel like the teens by Thursday morning. Yeah.
You're just full of great news,
I know.
aren't you? No, you know, I wanted to point out too that on our 10-day forecast and what you pull up on your app, it says tomorrow's high is like 48 degrees. That's kind of been our forecast. The high technically will be in the 50s.
Yeah.
But that occurs in the middle of the night. So the way that we like to display the high for you is what you're really going to see during the daylight hours, which is essentially 40s, upper 40s early in the morning around sunrise, and then it just tumbles all day. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's going to be, it might stall out a little bit, kind of like you see the wind chill stall out during the afternoon around the upper 30s, but I don't think we'll be going back up later in the day if we do by a degree or two.
Yeah, that's about it. So. Yeah. There you go, ending March with a bang, it looks like. Any questions?
Several people, yes, have asked, and this is a question that, no, we can't do anything about, have said, can we turn off the wind? Which we didn't even talk about the wind, but that's, the whole other part of this is when you get these big centers of low pressure moving through and you've got a lot of fronts, warm fronts, cold fronts, we get what we call gradients, tighter gradients than what we would normally have. And the tighter those pressure gradients are, the stronger the winds become. And that's why we have gusty winds today, why we have gusty winds tomorrow. Thursday is going to be kind of breezy, not as strong, but still breezy. And that's just kind of the nature of these systems.
Friday's a little calmer, right?
Yeah, Friday is calmer. And then there's going to be a little system that comes in. We call it a shortwave system. Friday night into Saturday, which means, I like to give you a heads up. If you've got plans on Saturday that you want to be outside, afternoon.
Yeah.
I think the morning's going to be, I don't think it's going to be horrible, but I don't think it's going to be pleasant to be outside. I think there will be some rain. I think in northern Iowa there may be something other than rain. Just know that late Friday night, I'm talking like 10 p.m. or later. So I think Friday will be totally dry.
Okay.
Saturday, probably not.
Fun times.
Yeah, let me see if there were any other. I don't know if it'll ever pull it up. Cindy said, I didn't know Iowa moved to the Windy City. Yeah, we kind of get winds like Chicago does, except we don't get the lakefront winds the same way they do, but we get the other winds. And then Don said, is March out like a lion or a lamb? They always say, the old wives' tale, I don't know who they is, that if it comes in like a lamb, it goes out like a lion, and vice versa. Well, it definitely came in like a lamb. We had some really nice weather for the first couple of days of March up until March 5th.
Yeah.
But if you want to count like March 1st through the 3rd, it was pretty nice.
Warm, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was warm. I think we had some 60s, maybe some 70s at the start of the month. And then now, here we are in an active pattern, and it's definitely going to go out like a lion with just a lot to keep track of. I don't necessarily know that it's anything we can't handle, but
It's just active, nothing significant, but definitely disruptive weather the next couple of days for sure.
Yeah, it's not get out on the playground kind of weather still, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunate. We'll get warmer again eventually. Pattern looking ahead the next couple of weeks looks pretty wet and pretty cool, I would say, through maybe the first 10 days of April.
Yeah, I said on the morning show this morning, the longer that we get these wetter spells, it's harder to warm up.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps us in this damp and cool pattern. It looks like most of next week will stay in the 50s,
yeah,
which is an improvement from going down into the 40s all the time. So, the warmer the temperatures get, even if it's still wet, it's just more likely rain versus it is snow. Yep. Couple of questions. Jason said, what time are the storms in Corydon? I would say...
Let's go back.
Yeah, we'll pull it up again.
There we go.
Yeah, let's see. I would probably say in Corydon, anytime after 9:30 or so, I would be prepared for storms.
We just got a new model run in, so we can go through this here.
Is this the newest?
Yeah, new HR model.
Oh, okay.
So, but so Corydon, after 10 p.m. would be my guess.
Sure, 9:30, 10 o'clock, be prepared after that point for the thunderstorms.
Even at midnight, it has some sticking around too.
Yeah, this is not totally different from the other run, except it's a little bit more widespread at that hour instead of more linear like we kind of saw earlier, but it's not really a major change. And then I think, kind of important to point out is that when we get to sunrise tomorrow, so this is at 3 a.m., but if we go forward maybe one more.
I'll fast forward here.
Oh, okay.
But here's 7 a.m.
Yeah, this would be 7 a.m. Wednesday. I still think there's going to be some rain in our southeastern and eastern areas. So if you live east or southeast of Des Moines, I think you're going to wake up to rain tomorrow morning as well.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if there's some drizzle or spotty rain showers in Des Moines during the day. I think for the most part, Des Moines will be done up until the wintry mix and snow showers move in later on tonight, or tomorrow night rather. But Don says, strawberries are peeking through. Weather is confusing them. And Cindy said, will it be warmer next week? We will be in the 50s next week. Yeah. So I don't know if you define that as warm, but it's...
technically, yeah.
It's warmer than 40, so it is going to be better.
Yeah, it'll be near normal for early April next week.
So you've got to look at the timing, of course, again, and the snow totals and all that good stuff coming up in about 12 and a half minutes on midday.
Yep. We'll talk about all that, time this out, and we'll have the 10-day. That looks pretty active on midday as well.
A lot to keep track of, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Stay safe.